Hello YouTube world, my name is Nicholas Montez and you're watching my YouTube channel, The Teenage Movie Critic, and welcome back to another video, everybody. I'm so excited to have you all back together again, and in today's video we're doing a end of month list for all the May new releases that I saw in the month of May of 2024. Let's go and get started ranking all 13 of these movies. Yeah, 13. So we'll start off with one of Netflix's most recent movies, and that is Atlas. This is basically Jennifer Lopez in a war robot suit. And the movie's fine. It's a C-tier film. There's plenty of good action in it, but and her performance in it is pretty good, but man, it's nothing big. Next up we have Tenet, which is not a film I really care about, so D-tier film. Furiosa, the newest Mad Max film. Finally watched all the Mad Max movies. This is probably the second best one, but definitely a pretty great one. Not my favorite, but really good. If, definitely much better than Atlas, so you're gonna go and see. I definitely liked it. Next up we have Hitman, which is a Netflix film that stars Glenn Powell, and he's like faking to be a hitman, but it's kind of like a romantic comedy. It's actually pretty great. The writing in it, just the comedy seems really good. I really enjoyed it. I like the way Glenn Powell told the story as he was narrating it. It was really good. The Garfield Movie, definitely an enjoyable ride. I wish I could have cared more, but it's still a C-tier film. Thelma the Unicorn, I thought this film was good enough, but that's all I can really say about that. The Beach Boys documentary, it was fine, but it's a C-tier film for me. I can't really care about it that much. Back in Black, the Amy Winehouse biopic, it's good. It's not that great, but it's good. I'll put it in D, just because I just couldn't really care about it all that much. Now these next four movies I think are actually pretty great. But next up we have Jim Henson, Idea Man. So if you don't know, this is the documentary on Disney Plus for Jim Henson. And obviously I've watched documentaries on, Sesame Street puppeteers and stuff like that. I watched the one about Kevin Clash about 5 years ago. I watched the Carol Spinney one about 4 years ago or something. And when I heard that they're making a Jim Henson documentary, I'm like, oh, okay. It's just going to go over how he made Kermit and then how he made the Muppets and how he made Sesame Street and all this stuff. And I assume we were just going to go over stuff that I kind of already knew. But that's not what this documentary does. What this documentary does so freaking well is, it of course goes over the stuff that we already know about the Muppets and Sesame Street and stuff like that. But first off, this documentary is directed by Ron Howard, who of course did films like Solo: A Star Wars Story. He did Splash, and probably some other films I can't remember at the top of my head right now. But he's done some really good films, and the way that this movie's edited, and it feels like something of Jim Henson and his imagination and his ideas. But that just goes to the fact that I didn't know Jim Henson was an idea man. This documentary does what every documentary and a biopic should do, and that's explore who the real person was that we didn't really know about. Or at least that we never watched in other documentaries before. And that's exactly what I got from this documentary. Where it was inventive, and we got to learn about, his relationship with his wife. That, honestly, this relationship, I've never seen anything like it. That they were both into Muppets, and both into puppets, and they did puppet work. But not only that, he didn't just want to do puppets, but he wanted to be experimental. He wanted to make little short films, so he made some other short films in the 60s before he made Sesame Street. And then he of course he continued to make puppets and with the Muppets, and then he went on to do children's television shows with Sesame Street and stuff like that. And he had all these ideas about the world, and then he wanted to be a filmmaker and made Dark Crystal and The Labyrinth. And I'm like, Obviously that stuff I knew, but I didn't know he wanted to be a filmmaker. I didn't know he had all these unique ideas of the world. And even just telling the dramatic stuff of him passing away, his brother dying, his wife getting divorced, they do it in a way where it's like, it feels kind of fresh, that I've never really seen in a documentary before. And to the point where we get to the end of it and we're like telling the legacy of where exactly Jim Henson's legacy is on right now. It has like that Muppet song in the background. I'm like, that is so good. And you see like all the images, all the little videos in the background, like present day Sesame Street, all the Muppets, all the stuff he worked on. It was so great. And to kind of have that thank you note, like, if he was here, we should say thank you. I'm like, that's such a good thing. And even like as I was at school, I kept seeing videos of audio of the score for the film as we're going through all the little sections, and I even kept replaying the Sesame Street theme as we're going through it. I'm like, this sounded kind of cool. We're not playing the usual Sesame Street theme song. We're playing like a kiddie throwback one. I'm like, this is great. So this is probably the movie I have so much to say about because I recently saw it. I was blown away by this one. This is easily probably the best like Sesame Street documentary that I've ever seen. You can include it because he is a Sesame Street puppeteer. But yeah, this one was great. I loved it. It was honestly one of those documentaries where I'm like it's great to have the person, like I'm celebrating the person. It feels like the celebration of that person. And yeah, I loved it. Next we have Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. And obviously I saw the Caesar trilogy about a year ago. And so when they first announced this film, I was like, this is actually pretty cool. And then I saw those trailers and I'm like, wow, this movie looks incredible. And I kept hearing all the good reviews, and the reviews sounded astounding. And then I went to go see it, and it was just an experience. It was a fantastic film. It, of course, had the exciting action that you wanted, a story that was cool in this universe that takes place 300 years, and how Caesar's words are reflected upon the apes around the world. And it was just a great film, and I'm excited for the other films that are coming in this franchise. So, easily top tier film. Next up, we have The Fall Guy. I thought this film was actually pretty great. I can't say it's not quite as good as I thought I would like it, but it's definitely a very good film. I love that it was a celebration of cinema, and that it was sort of a film that was meant to celebrate stuntmen and all that stuff. So I'll put this in A. I just love the chemistry. I love the little action stunts and stuff. So I really enjoyed it. And then finally we have The Idea of You, and I thought this was actually pretty great of a film. What's actually so interesting about it is that it's a rom-com, that it's a coming-of-age story with a rom-com mixed into it with Anne Hathaway, except it's a coming-of-age story for adults. That even though you're like in your 50s or whatever, you're still learning stuff. And that was actually kind of an interesting story. Now, it is kind of weird that she somehow fell in love with a younger guy than him. That was kind of weird, but I think overall, the film gave me exactly what I wanted, and every scene with Anne Hathaway making out with that guy, come on, it was great. Overall, this film was pretty great, and yeah, it's gonna go in B, and yeah, it's gonna go there. And that's my ranking of all the May new releases. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.